my farming methods are a combination of different farming styles that I've been learning from, so I'm kind of blending them together. So yes, essentially I did till everything once, and so now I'm going to no-till. No more tilling, because the soil health is really important.
We actually farm on it all year round, and we use whatever tool that we need to use. We have both lots and lots of good hand tools, but we also have a major tractor and 2 other tractors that we use for, these are very modern tractors which are meant to disturb the soil as little as possible and get the job over for you as quickly as possible.
We do have a tractor, we do have a rotiller, and I have to say it's a 35 horsepower tractor with a hydraulic bucket. It does an enormous amount of work. I'm always in awe of what a machine can do, and I know it's driven by petrol, but it's amazing how it saved my back, and I'm very grateful for that, to have that. But having said that, I've always been intrigued with like no dig methods, where you're not using violence on the soil. You know, every time I rototill, you know, sure it makes a nice beautiful seed bed, but there aren't any worms in that soil. And I've noticed that, and that's not because of lack of organic matter, it's because it's been pulverized. And there are certain drawbacks to having a rototiller, so I'm trying to get away from that, and I think I'm almost there.
Weed control, woofing. Woofers? No, yeah, so we have a lot of weeds at the minute, so I get too ambitious with other projects, I guess. But, a lot of hand weeding for now, and then what we're starting to do is laying down cardboard and straw on top, reed canary grass actually. So that helps retain moisture, helps you know, build the nitrogen in the soil, earthworm habitat. And then this is another weed control method, laying a tarp down for a few weeks and then planting right in there. I guess transplanting, bigger cells for me for next year. But transplanting in a big cell and then planting right into the ground as opposed to direct seeding is probably the biggest thing I could learn for next year.
I think it's called nagging your staff. I can't think of a better way, because I'm devoted to the knowledge of Eliot Coleman, who wrote The Organic Gardener and wrote a very excellent chapter on weeding. And I truly believe that if you follow his instructions, you won't have to be bothered with weeds. But because it seems so improbable, staff don't believe it. So they would just as soon wait until weeds get really well established before they do anything about it. And it's the exact opposite to Eliot Coleman will tell you, if you can see that weed, it's probably too late. You're making work for yourself. And that's a hard idea to instill in people's heads, that if they just zip along the edge of those plants and get them while the weeds are barely visible, that they're not going to grow up and be a nuisance. But it is a really hard, very hard thing to teach. But when you do it, it works.
Right here, the wood chip mulch has been great. We haven't done any weeding on this garlic this year, and usually at this time of year it's overrun with weeds, and we're panicking and feeling guilty about not looking after the garlic. So a good mulch has really helped with weed control. But in the areas, a lot of the areas of this place, it's just, you know, bare soil. We have a really good wheel hoe that I got from California. That thing is fantastic, really helpful, and just good hose. And I have to say that we do have volunteers who are really good weeders, and we really appreciate them coming out. People enjoy doing that. And last but not least, my dad, you know, he in his retirement, he does a lot of weeding, and he's very good at it.
On the farm, we use drip line irrigation, and So as far as I was told, it's 97 or whatever % effective. We got the drip line irrigation in the last few months because last year hand watering took a full-time job just to water everything. So there's less evaporation too when you have the water going directly to the source. So we're not using sprinklers or any of those techniques, just drip line.
Well, we used to do overhead sprinklers. That's how we started out 25 years ago. Even then, we realized that it was probably not practical in the long run, that the more houses that were built, the less water we were going to have in the aquifers. And so we had to, excuse me, we had to start looking at how we could do this better. So then we went to a drip irrigation system which had emitters for all the trees and plants, so each one had a little drip. Very hard to maintain. I really don't recommend it in a big way. Sprinklers only give you between, they blow away 75 to 95% of the water that comes through them. So it's only a very small amount, 25% or less, that the plants actually get.
Watering and irrigation is a big challenge here. We've used drip irrigation. It's limited our production. We've definitely had problems around water. The drip irrigation not working properly, not enough water, all sorts of things. The stuff breaking. It's not a perfect system, and we're trying to make it better. But water definitely is a major limiting factor in what we do here.
Our water comes from a combination of rainwater collection from a pond and our well, deep water well. But well being backup, like the last resource we'd want to use.
Blessedly out of the sky, and we have a half-acre pond, irrigation pond, which is 25 feet deep. So it's a good water, but people think, wow, all that water. But the reality is, if the summer gets really hot, then most of it's gobbled up because it evaporates.
We have well, 4 foot in diameter concrete, standard dug well. They're 20 feet deep. But when we have a hot summer, we can run out. It's definitely always a worry.
Yeah, books, for sure. I guess Paul Kaiser is probably one of my latest influence. Jean-Martin Fortier, Elliot Coleman, Jeff Lawton, permaculture, Sepp Olzer, a few different guys, yeah. But those are the most notable ones I could mention. Carolyn Harriet on the island here.
Particularly, of course, our Coleman, Dan Jason, of course, who knows this area really well.
Yes, there are some very good books. Elliot Coleman's books, The New Organic Grower, 4-Season Harvest, very good. But probably my favorite for gardening here on Vancouver Island is Steve Solomon, gardening west of the Cascades.
Farming responsibly, what it means to me, I guess leaving the place, in a better way than when you started. Being conscious of how you do things, improving the soil every year. I could go on, I guess. Yeah, making things healthy, growing nutrient-dense food, feeling good about what you're doing, having a clear conscience.
Responsibly. Well, our goal was to provide high-quality food to people in the neighborhood. So that's always the back of our mind. That's what we're doing. We are trying, it should look good, taste good, smell good. The fields should look good. They should look healthy and vigorous, and hopefully that the people then who buy it will feel better. It'll be good for their health and good for their just general well-being. So I think that part of it is really important. But the other is to bring along other young farmers of all description, we are very generous with the information about farming. We'll happily take on anybody and tell them what we've done right and what we've done wrong and what we would suggest in the way of how to do it. We want more farmers. We need more farmers. Obviously, we need more farmers because we're not growing nearly enough of our own food. And whatever way those farmers decide to market, that's up to them.
Number one, farming responsibly means not poisoning the earth. You know, and I think of that. A good example is we were driving along the road and lots of green fields, and then in the midst of all these nice green fields, there was a field that looked like the desert, and it just been sprayed, the entire field, with Roundup, and it was like the moon. It looked horrible. But what's worse than just looking horrible is what we know. What Roundup is, it's contaminating the groundwater. It's really bad stuff. It's it's linked to learning disabilities, birth defects, cancer. That's being a responsible farmer is not using that stuff that's really harming the earth and human health.